everyone. This is Carolyn Choate, and I am joined today by Robbie Samuels, who has become known for really good book launches. So, at my heart, at my core, I am an author. I really fell in love with marketing after self-publishing, which is, I know, very unusual. So I am just dying to hear all about what makes your book launches special, what makes them stand out, why people are talking about them. Welcome, Robbie.
I I love that my reputation precedes me, Carolyn. Thank you for inviting me to be on the show and talk about this. It's become one of my favorite topics as well.
Yes. All right, awesome. So, do you want to give us a little background first about who you are and how you ended up where you are today?
Well, I have told a lot of people recently I'm actually about to publish my fourth book, and I don't identify as a writer. So I am an author. I'm clearly an author, but writing has gotten easier. But my first book was because I'm a professional speaker. And I heard the drum beat many times over and over again, the mantra, you have to have a book, you have to have a book. And like 2 years of false starts in 2017, I finally published my first book based on content that I've been speaking about for like 8 or 9 years. And so that was like meant to be the book, except that no one really tells you what to do with the book. And I was moments away from publishing. I was at the point where the book was now written and going to the editor. So I knew it was going to happen. Like, right? Like I was no longer stressing about the writing part. And I had a realization that it was a good book and I wanted people to read it. And I happened to really like the marketing part.
Yeah,
So
just like
I
me.
like stopped everything and was like, I need a marketing plan. So I pushed out my publication date. I mean, I was self-published, so it was totally up to me, right? And I built a launch team with the goal of getting 100 or more reviews on Amazon by launch day. And I did it, and actually I had 150 within a week.
What?
And I sort of figured it out, right? I didn't have 100%. I had a little bit of a plan. I learned from some people. But when I told the people that I had originally gotten the few, pieces from, they were like, "You did what?" And I was like, "But if you do it all, like, I mean, I Robified it a little bit, right? But like, but if you do the step."
This episode is brought to you by Supercharge Your Website Traffic, Infinite Leads at your fingertips. Get it at Amazon today.
So then I thought I was never going to write another book, but I did think it was a shame because I learned so much through self-publishing. My business was about in-person networking, teaching people how to network at conferences. My TEDx talk on that topic came out in January 2020. Poised to be an overnight success, 10 years in the making. 2 months later, no one needs to know how about networking at events. We're all at home. And I very quickly, by the end of 2020, had a thriving six-figure business with all new revenue streams. I became a virtual event design consultant and an executive Zoom producer. And so everyone was saying, Robbie, how did you do that? So in October of 21, my second book came out. I am also a business coach. I'm a strategist, and I treated myself like a client. And I did research calls. So that second book, Small List, Big Results, was about how I turned all the inquiries into research calls and built out new revenue lines. And so now I did a second book. Well, that book also had hundreds, like I don't know, 200 reviews. Then I finally, on the third anniversary of the first time I hosted a virtual happy hour, which was March 13th, 2020, my third book came out, which is everything I learned about Zoom and how to design these inclusive, transformational virtual experiences. And that book, I'm proud to say, has crossed 250 written reviews. And I don't mean ratings,
Yeah.
not the 5 stars, I mean reviews. And so in that time period, everyone started to know I was known for this. I resisted being called a book launch coach because I originally wanted to be known as a networking expert. And I was a little like, like my peers in the National Speakers Association were referring me for book launch advice when I was trying to be referred as a networking expert. But my coach, my mentor, and sometimes coach Dory Clark asked me sort of 3 or 4 times in 7 years, why are you not a book launch coach? As I was bemoaning that my last book was stuck at like 244 reviews and what do I have to do to get these 7 more? And she was like, come on. I'm like, I know, I know. So finally, a year and a half ago, I did research calls. I ended up building out the Biz Book Pub Hub, which is a referral network, a community of authors and writers and experts. Turned my podcast from a once a week show about leadership networking to a twice a week show about this business. And now I host a Kindle flash sale campaign for authors 3 times a year. And I have all these packages around launches, including designing and emceeing virtual book launch parties, because that was one of the features people kept asking
Oh my God,
for.
I tried to do that for my Supercharge Your Website traffic book, and I had all these grand ideas. It did not come together. No. I had a couple friends and my like 70-year-old aunt on the Zoom call, and it was perfectly fun, but it was not exactly what I thought a Zoom launch party was going to be. So I feel like I
Hmm.
may need to pick up your book about Zoom now. You have so
Well, and
many
now I
to
have a
give
fourth
it.
book coming out. uh, After all of that, I finally wrote a book called Launch Your Book, An Entrepreneur's Guide to Reviews That Drive Revenue, which is coming out like as we're taping this now. It'll be the ARC, the advanced reader copy's out in a few weeks. It goes live July 8th of 2025. And so then it'll be available everywhere. And so that's my playbook written out for everybody, whether you want to DIY it or whether you that might convince you that you should hire me because it's a lot of steps. I know you created your own launch books about it's very meta when you're launching a book about a launch. It's like,
Definitely.
please, please, please help me out. Make sure this goes well because it would be kind of ironic.
Yeah. I first of all have to know how many people did you reach out to get 100 reviews within what did you say that the on by launch day? That had to have been
Yeah. So first I should mention that publication date is not the same as my launch date.
right because you
So a lot of
soft launch
people
it and publish it ahead of
Yeah, so most people, when they're talking about their publication date, they actually say launch date and they use it synonymously. So I want to clarify, it's the day your book is released and you published is not the launch day. At that time, I only gave myself 3 days. That was not okay. Like that was very difficult. I now do 2 or 3 weeks for myself and for my clients, depending on sort of their schedule. So 2 or 3 weeks of the soft launch, which is a time period where reviews that we've been collecting. So I have 5 phases of a launch: the invite list, people joining the launch team, giving them the arc and some prompts so they write the review. Then the soft launch when the reviews get published on Amazon. And then we have the launch day and the launch party celebration, which is actually looking forward towards what comes next for the author. Because all of my authors are writing a book to help them grow their business, speaking, coaching, or consulting. So
right.
my process will work for any genre, but if you're going to hire someone like me, it's because there's a monetary incentive, a revenue goal attached to the book, not just selling copies of the book, but selling a service. So at the time, I didn't, it wasn't like I had the same following and the same network that I have today. I mean, it's been 10 years, right? A lot's changed, but I was writing a book about networking. So
You were
I
like,
was good at networking and I'd been speaking on my topic for many years. So one of the interesting things is I had been speaking at conferences before I left my day job. I was speaking and I didn't have an email list because I didn't have a business. But I would have people sign in at the entrance of the door. I would ask for a table and I would put out sign-in sheets. And afterwards, I'd go to a cafe in the lobby and I would type up the names into a spreadsheet and I would mail merge a request for a testimonial. Well, I had all those spreadsheets in my Google Drive. And 5 years had passed for some of these. And I wrote him an email and basically said, my book was titled was Croissants versus Bagels, Strategic, Effective, and Inclusive Networking at Conferences. And the title is about this networking concept that I had taught them about body language. Bagels being the tight circles that are hard to break into, croissants being the opening that happens when someone shifts their body language to make space next to them in a circle. I asked, do you still remember Croissants versus Bagels? It's now a book. And these people who I had not talked to in 5 years, had no personal relationship with, were the first to sign up for the launch team and the first to leave reviews. So now what I've learned from this is focus on people who will most directly benefit from your book's content or know people who would. My friends and family, back then, I was so bummed that they were not stepping up to help me with reviews. But now I'm like, why would they? They don't really care about my content. They love me, but they don't really understand what I'm doing.
and it's
They don't
probably
really
for the
understand the
best
need for what I'm
if
doing.
they don't, because then you end up with getting recommended to the wrong people because Amazon goes,
Exactly.
oh
And then that's
yeah,
the
that
last part
person
is,
liked it.
yeah, they're reading mysteries or, novels about space or whatever it is. Like, it's not going to help the referral piece of the algorithm. And they also just don't get the goal of reviews. Like, more than 90% of us check reviews before making a purchase. Lots of studies have shown that. but very few of us have actually written a review. I've asked probably 100 people about the last review they wrote, and I've heard 98 horror stories because the reason they wrote a review was because they had a really negative experience. And that was maybe the only review they've ever written in their entire life. So, how do we change that behavior? Right? We have to guide people through the process intentionally. They set an intention, and then we intentionally help them follow through. Because when they do, they'll feel good, we'll feel good, we'll strengthen the relationship. If you just ask once, maybe 1 in 10 will do it, and the other nine will feel bad about it. My wife just wrote a review for a book that she agreed to write a review for 2 years ago, because I'm writing this book, right? And so it keeps coming up in conversation. And she went and looked. She's the fifth review for that author. So that author did ask, but didn't follow up. My wife held on to it as a, oh gosh, whenever I see her at book club, I feel bad. Right. It's actually breaking the relationship a little bit. It's making her be like, oh, I don't know if I want to say hello because she might remember. Meanwhile, the author didn't really make an effort.
And I bet the author is delighted to see the review come in and just like,
2 years later, right? Like it's never too late. Like ideally, we do this in a sort of close time frame, but ongoing reviews is part of the algorithm. There's a few things that help our books become discovered in the Amazon search page results page. Are you ranked towards the top or on page 43? That is the quantity of reviews, the quality of the reviews, the recency reviews, and what percentage are verified, meaning you purchased the book before leaving the review. And so all these things get factored in. So if you just get reviews in the first 3 weeks and then none, 2 years later, your book's never going to show up. Like you'll never be seen again. But if you can continue to get reviews every few months, that'll help. That'll help kind of keep your book present on the Amazon algorithm.
okay. So is there a role for SEO when people are searching on Amazon? Like, is it really weighted towards the reviews more than anything else?
So there's two things. There's the keywords. So if you are doing your own, I recommend doing some research about how to do good keywords. But even if you're working with a hybrid publisher or a traditional publisher, ask them what the keywords were and why they chose them. Because I've definitely worked with authors whose books have published, and when they go peeking to see what they're like, why are my keywords? What the? I doesn't make any sense. One person wrote a book where she was talking about leadership, but it was in the context of baseball, and all the keywords were about baseball, not about leadership.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So for her, it was a metaphor. It was not a book about baseball. It was a book about leadership. But whoever was in charge of that, like, totally missed that. Um, so I think you got to get your keywords. You also have to look at your title and subtitle have to work both for keyword search, but also humans reading it. Like explain in the subtitle, which they've gotten longer over the years and more sentence-like sometimes, but make sure they make sense and have good punctuation and all of that basic stuff. And a good description. And the description should be written correctly and formatted with spaces, not be one block of text, and use bullets or italics or bold. Like, this is some basic things that we can do to make even humans perusing. But the reason reviews are so important is because they're social proof that stay on the book sales page. Whereas hitting number one, which I've done 30 times for my first 3 books, I hope it happens for my fourth book, but it's a byproduct of a strategic launch, not something I'm aiming for and not something I'm paying for,
Mm.
because it doesn't change my bank account at all, for me to suddenly hit number one. And it only lasts maybe an hour, maybe it lasts a day, depends.
It's fun to
I get the
brag about
screenshot.
it. Yeah, you take the
It's
screenshot,
nice.
but then like a lot of people in the industry realize that like it doesn't mean that much if I hit number one in like home-based advertising on computers in America, Like,
Well, the thing to think about is if you were traditionally published, the only time they would change your book cover to say something would be Pulitzer Prize, New York Times bestseller, 300,000 copies sold, right? There would be some criteria. They would never change your cover to say international bestselling author, with just like that vague statement. But people who are hybrid published or self-published will hit number one in one US and one Canadian category,
international
and
bestseller.
then decide they're an international best-selling author, and then they'll put it in their bio. I'm like, come on. So I say the whole sentence. Now for the 3 books I have 3 books. They've hit number one 30 times across 4 countries. Like that is a notable thing. But my friend Phil M. Jones wrote a book called Exactly What to Say. It's got translated over 30 languages. I don't know how many millions of copies sold. I mean, by every measure, he is an international best-selling author with evidence to prove it. Hybrid published book by Page Two, excellent book, amazing resource. You write a quality book, you have the right kind of audience, you could have that achievement. But to compare what he did to what I did to what that person did who self-published and hit number one in Canada and US for one day or 1 hour, I'm like, so I just think a lot of times we have to myth bust because newer authors, this is the thing they think they should achieve,
Eek.
but it doesn't in reality. Like it doesn't change anything. And people in the know are a little like, okay. So reviews, though, that's important, and not reviews from just anyone, reviews from likely prospects and referral partners. So that as you're trying to get reviews, again, they're hard to get, you're having conversations as a business owner with the kind of people that might lead to new revenue and new media opportunities.
Yes. I did my book launches follow that same sort of formula because like that is the standard. And I'm sure when you first were publishing a book, you looked it up and you said, oh, okay, this is how you launch a book. But I think that the scale at which you were able to do it is very, very notable because I don't know, I didn't reach out to enough people or the right people. And it's, by launch day, I had 5 reviews and I still have 5 reviews a month later. So I think that that was something that really stands out to people when they hear your story is like, oh, that's big results. Like you're doing the things that most authors hopefully know that you're supposed to do, but you've been able to do it in a much grander way. What do you think the secret is to that?
Well, it's a numbers game, I will say. So you wrote a book about SEO and websites, which I'm actually, I when I spotted that, I'm like, oh, I'm actually keen. Like I'm an audience member for that. And so 3 times a year, I organize a Kindle flash sale where people who wrote books like you and I, we all lower our Kindle book price to 99 cents and we cross promote them.
Mhm.
And I think your book would fit so beautifully. So I'm just going to pitch you to do that
I
because
go,
I think a lot of us fellow entrepreneurial authors, like we need that service. Like I don't understand how the SEO works today. It's changed so much. What matters, what doesn't. It's something I'm always trying to learn about. And I never feel like I'm on the leading edge. I think someone else should know how to do that, and I want to learn from them. So when you have a book like that, that has a specific audience, our job as the author is to build an invite list of people who would either directly benefit or could get us in front of the people who would need it.
Mm.
And those people would then be more like referral partners. So someone who had a podcast or a community group or a membership group or worked at a company where they could bring you in, whatever that referral partner might look like. And if you want 50 reviews by a specific date, meaning your launch day, you need to have, before your book is published, 150 people signed up a month before publication day.
Okay.
To get that, you need to ask about 200 people. So that's kind of the scale. You can scale up. Lois Kramer, who's well known in the National Speakers Association and the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers, her second edition came out. We worked together. She was iffy about pulling together a list. She's beloved. It's a silly thing. I cannot believe she was worried about this. She finally did it in a weekend. She showed up on the call. She had 548 people on her invite list. So when she got into it, she got into it. And then she hired us, myself and my team, to do the outreach. So we sent all the messages and all the emails because she didn't have a team member to do that. And about 400, just like 392 or something, signed up and said, yes, we'll write a review. And then by her launch day, 131 had actually done it.
Mm.
Now, her book is currently closing in on 150 written reviews because more reviews keep trickling in. But she noted that her first book, the first version of that book, had 130 ratings at the end of 7 years. They weren't even all reviews.
Mhm.
And now she has more than 150 ratings and she's closing in on 150 written reviews. And it's been only a handful of months since the book came out. So that concentrated effort, but also here's what's really important. Those are the people who then bought her book in bulk and or invited her to speak. So all the chapters of these associations. Now, we don't sell to each other in the association. It's just not a way. We don't do business that way. So she was like, well, I don't want to be like pitching myself. So she didn't. She invited leaders of these chapters to join her launch team. And then they said, oh, you have a new version of the book? For the next Speaker Academy, we're going to use your new version. Hey, do you want to come speak? Boom. Like
That
they're all trying
I
to
love
amplify her
that. That's
message.
so strategic in a way that I hadn't thought of because I'm thinking in terms of, yes, it's great that the people who review the book are also people that like match, but to say like, oh, they're on my launch team, so they're going to read the book, so they're gonna see that it's awesome and they're gonna want to go further and do stuff with it. Like, that's genius. I really like that. Good.
This is also why I don't love the idea that some people are writing reviews for their team and saying like pick from these three, or I wrote one for you, or
Mm,
just use AI to write a review, or whatever the shortcut might be. I mean, listen, people are going to do whatever they're going to do if they're going to shortcut it on their own, but don't feed that to them, because then they're not going to read the book. Like,
mm,
the magic is that you wrote a valuable book. Let's presume that is true. And it has a particular audience. Again, not always the case, but let's presume that is true. If that's the case, then the people who need that book need to read the book, at least open the book, at least skim through the book and sort of go, oh, maybe I should read more of this book, or maybe I should refer to this book when I need it, or maybe I know someone who needs this book, right? So I just had a client. I launched her book last night. We did a launch party. It's the Savvy Working Mom. The Savvy Working Mom. She's a working professional, and she wrote a book. But she's in a regular job, a job, and she's starting a big book to speak. And she's got coaching clients, and she's building this thing up on the side. And I of course read the book because she's my client, and I'm like, oh, I need to give this book to my wife. And then I'm thinking about all these other working women I know. And then I think about, it's not just people who work in jobs, it's people who also have entrepreneurial aspirations, because it's about, how do we integrate all these parts of our life, and how do we delegate both in the house and out of the house. I was like, oh man, what if I had never opened this book? Like, just seeing the title of the book did not tell me that I knew people who needed it.
mm.
And who am I to deny these people access to an incredible resource and her community if they find that actually to be helpful?
Yeah. Okay, so two questions are coming to mind. First is for that verified reviews thing, do you
Mhm.
tend to have the soft launch at a lower price and ask your launch team to purchase and then leave the review? Or do you just
So
like
yes,
shrug and
no,
you're
that's what
not
I'm doing. I counsel my authors to lower their Kindle book price to 99 cents from the day that it's published until at least the day of the launch party, if not the week of the launch party.
Mm,
Um, The goal here is to drive traffic to the book sales page from the public only after launch day.
right,
Because to drive traffic to the book after it's published, but before launch day, during that soft launch period, when there are not enough sales and not enough reviews, it's a page that's not quite converting. And that's a mistake I see people doing, is they jump to PR and marketing a little too soon. So my launch piece overlaps the publication time frame and is before paid PR and marketing.
right.
But the launch team members, we're asking them to actually write a review and submit it in advance via a Google form, we're collecting reviews based on the advanced reader copy. We're giving them some writing prompts to help them write a 2 or 3 sentence review or longer. It's not meant to be a book report. Don't worry, all those fourth grade angsty feelings of book reports, we could leave that behind. Um, Maybe, so let's say there's 150 people, maybe 63 of them will do it, right? They'll write a review in advance. Well, now it's publication day and the soft launch begins. Now we have to send a message to the people who wrote the review. Hey, the book's discounted 99 cents. Here's why verified reviews matter. Your review message is below your text. Here are the steps of how to publish it. Here's the time frame, how to like download the book, flip through the book, wait a few hours. Amazon knows whether you've looked at it. We coach them to the whole thing, that step by step process. Now, there's still more than half of the people haven't written a review. They get a message saying, okay, instead of going and downloading the ARC, that link is now gone. The book is only 99 cents, but for a short time, here's the Google form, here's the prompts, go ahead and do it. But now your goal is not the deadline that passed, it's the launch day deadline. It's the 2 weeks from now deadline.
Mm,
And you'll get a few more that trickle in. Now, at this point, some people might publish directly to Amazon their review. And this is also happens for relaunches. I often do relaunches with people who don't love their results.
mm,
It's okay. The downside is I don't always know who left the review, because people can leave anonymous reviews. It could say Amazon customer or Kindle customer or Fluffy Bunny 23, which is an actual thing that I read on one of those. Um, So I can't tell if I don't have the text. If I have the text, I can search for keywords and match it and know Mary is Fluffy Bunny 23. Great. I can thank Mary. And I can importantly cross her off the follow-up list because I am manually tracking for my list. So I have the invite list. If they join the launch team, they get marked off the invite list. So I don't send them a reminder to do that, or they decline. If they join the launch team, I send them the welcome and I ask them to write the review. If they do that, I cross them off that list. Now they have the review list. Then we send it, we get them on Amazon. Once they do that, right? So there's a lot of management behind the scenes. And you asked me how I'm doing this at scale. I'm using a malmerge tool called Yet Another Malmerge, YAMM.com. Love the name of this. It's so fun. It integrates with Gmail. And if anyone out there is using Outlook, you've had access to a malmerge all along through Outlook and Excel spreadsheets. So that's also a known thing. But the idea is that you have to really carefully track the spreadsheets.
Can
So that's the at
you
scale
tell
part.
people what a mail merge is exactly?
Yeah, so back in the day, I worked in an office and we would have to print out letters for sponsors that said, Dear so and so, and had their address at the top. I didn't sit at a typewriter, just sitting there like manually pounding out each one. We had a spreadsheet, we had a Word document with a template, and there were merge fields for the first name or the salutation or whatever we wanted to use, and the address block. And so you would hit merge, and then you would have all these individual letters that you could print and then sign. Well, there's also a version of that that's an email version of that. And Outlook had it for a long time. It took a long time for me to find a good way of doing it for Gmail. But it allows you to personalize. So it would have your first name. I could also add a different first line or a different PS. I could swap out something else if I need to. Each field is a different column in the spreadsheet. And I will say to err is human and to truly F up, you need a computer. So use with caution and always run a test email and double check your emails and your spreadsheets and don't do it late at night when you're tired because that's when I made the biggest mistakes. Yeah, so I mean I am trying to give you an individual journey. I'm not joining you to an email list. You're not being subscribed to my email list. This is not a BCC email. This is definitely not a CC email. Those are horrible. I'm writing just to you. And I am acknowledging what you've done, and I'm telling you what the next step is. And then I'm acknowledging what you've done, and I'm telling you what the next step is. And if you did something and the next step takes 2 weeks, I don't talk to you for 2 weeks until it's time for the next step. If in those 2 weeks you hadn't done it, I will send you 2 reminders because it's my help. My job is to help you follow through with your intention because I know when you do, you're going to feel good and I'm going to feel good. And if I just leave you to languish, it'll be on your to-do list, but never on your to-done list. And we don't feel as good about that then.
Oh, I love it. I love how you guide them through this step-by-step journey. It just reminds me so much of how I see funnels as taking someone by the hand and helping them to not fall through the cracks and to always know where they're going next. And um, it's such a gift for people to have that. And the way that you frame that as um, helping them to follow through on what they do want to do is just absolutely beautiful. That's very,
You know what I love about it is like in a typical sales funnel, they don't know where they're going, right? We're guiding them, we're keeping them in, we're trying to move them towards a goal that we think they want, but they haven't actually agreed to. In this case, they've actually set the intention. That's why it's an opt-in to join the launch team. I don't just add people.
oh, of course. Yeah.
Um, and I also make them fill out a Google form, not just name and email. I ask questions. I ask them like, where can I be interviewed? And I want to know other information. I actually, the first question is, why do you want to be on the launch team? Because I want them mentally to say, because I like Robbie, because Robbie's helpful, because Robbie helped me, because I need to learn this information for my own business. Like whatever it is, it doesn't have to be a long answer, but there's a reason they're saying yes. And I want them to have that moment. Here's the really sad news. More than 90% of us check reviews before we make a purchase. Even with all this hand holding, a third to half of your opt in launch team will publish a review by your launch day. Only a third to half,
Yeah.
even
I was
with
like, you must be reaching out to thousands of people.
all those reminders. Yeah. So yeah, it's more will come in, other magical things will happen. So here's why I think it's still really worthwhile to do this. even if you're not going to get 85, 90% participation. I've had people not leave a review, but book me for a podcast, make an introduction, get me a speaking gig, right? Made a referral of some kind. So
Mm-hmm.
we're engaging.
Goodness.
There's about a 2 month time frame where I, as a business owner, am in conversation individually with my network. So the goal is 50 or more Amazon reviews. The purpose is the process of getting those reviews, which is waking up and engaging the network. So I never want to lose sight of why we're doing this. If it was just about reviews, you could pay someone to get 200 reviews. And there are services out there that will do it. How they do it, I don't think is super ethical. I'd be very nervous about losing my Amazon account. Also, you're paying someone to get you reviews from people who don't want or care about your book and don't want to help you amplify your book's message and don't know anyone and don't know you and you don't know who they are. And I don't, so it's not about reviews.
Mm.
It's about reviews in so much as reviews are social proof on the book sales page. So having them will help future sales, not just future sales of books, but you as a speaker, coach, or consultant. Because even though none of us, we don't all love Amazon, Amazon is still a major player. And as an independent business owner, an independent author, this is the place to be. Now, I could do this entire launch on Amazon, have a huge push for that first month. And then on my website, I could list other sites. Like I could list an indie site if I wanted to instead and drive sales, future sales there. I could do bulk orders off of Ingram Spark, whose politics, by the way, I don't know.
Mm.
Like, as you know what I mean? I don't really know.
No, no, that,
I don't know what Ingram Sparks politics are, but it's like they're not in the news. So I feel better about buying bulk order. But I can avoid giving Amazon more money, but I still need the reviews on Amazon because if someone's going to hire me, they're going to glance at my sort of portfolio, and in that will be my books. They'll look at how many, and then they'll look at the quality, and they'll look at what people have said about them. And you want to have that positive impression right away because if you're being considered to speak, you're probably being considered with other people who already have books. Like that was probably a minimum criteria to be considered. So merely having a book may not get you the edge you need. Having a book with 50 or more reviews will probably separate you out from a crowded field because most people who hit publish, and I say hit publish because that's often self-published, they're not actually being guided by a good, strong hybrid publisher or a traditional publisher. They don't even get 20 reviews. Even hybrid published books often, like I've seen a real swing from like 8 reviews to 150 reviews. Like it's all over the place because the person's sort of how big of a following they have. But my point is, it's not about how big or small your email list is. That your network is always bigger. So this is an opportunity for us to like go and engage and get those folks to be supporting us in our ideas.
yeah. So the reviews are kind of optimizing the landing page, as it were,
Yes.
the Amazon landing page. But you also said the point is beyond just optimizing the landing page, it is also the process of getting the reviews as an important part of this whole thing to make it profitable.
And it makes the book more discoverable because the review quantity, quality, recency, and the quantity of verified reviews all is factored into where your book shows up based on the keyword search. When people type in a key or related keyword and you look at the search results page, where do you show up on that page? So it helps you be discovered by people who don't know you by having those. And it's not just having them all in the beginning. So when I run these Kindle flash sales, I have the authors drop their Kindle book price to 99 cents 2 weeks before the 4-day sale. Now, that's for a few reasons. There are 75 authors, and I cannot have them all do it last minute. There's at least 2 people who need help. So I want to make sure it's taken care of, right? I'm herding cats, so you got to tilt the floor in your favor. And then I say, well, since you've done that, now make a list of 25 to 50 people that should be writing you a review and tell them, like, and I say, get them agreeing before you drop the price. Like, spend the time in the month before saying, hey, my book's going to be dropping the price and I'll be part of this campaign. When it drops, will you write a review in that 2-week time frame? You will. Oh, you're wonderful. Thank you so much. And then tell them and say the deadline to get the review published is, and it's the campaign day. Now that time frame, it's really important that if we're asking people to do something, we give it a time bound sense. It can't just be forever, whenever you get around to it, because then you get a review 2 years later, which you're happy about. But like honestly, wouldn't it be great if you had 50 reviews now, not 5? Like maybe in 10 years you'll have 50, but like wouldn't it be great if you had them now? So time bounding that, and it will make the book look a little better during the campaign. But it also getting even 5 more reviews every few months will help with the search algorithm for where that book shows up in comparison to other books that have those same keywords.
Mhm.
So it is we're talking strategy about the network and also how to leverage the algorithms, the human part and the sort of AI behind the scenes part.
Yeah. Oh, I love how strategic it is. Phenomenal. So the other question that I had, and hopefully listeners will have already realized the answer to this, but one of the things I see a lot with authors is this fear of, oh, I don't want to give the book away for free to too many people. Like,
Mhm.
they want to hold something back because, oh, but those are the people who would actually buy my book. So shouldn't I make them like buy the book? And I know the answer to
So
this, but
my
I will let you tell.
Yeah. I no longer advise people to use Kindle Unlimited and the 5 free days every 90-day option that they give you, but I did do it for my first and second book, and I will tell you that for my first book, I don't know what I'm doing. I broke the top 100 US Kindle. I was number 94 in all US free books on Kindle. Okay. So that, I mean, I did it's my own network. I hired someone who pushed it out to like the Buck Book, BookBub, whatever. I don't know. There's all these different sites out there. It was whatever ones were free because there's some that are like 99 cents you can have it, but like there were some free ones. So for all the free days, it went out to a different promotion. And it was a book about networking. So it was kind of a generically interesting, right? It was of a general audience too. So that's why that book got downloaded like I don't know like 3,000 times in 2 days or one day or I don't know. It was a huge spike. That then helped when my book went to 99 cents bump the algorithm because Amazon's like, well, this looks like a good book. Let's push it. Well, they emailed my book to people
Mhm.
like in an email. Hey, because you bought this, you might want to buy this book. My friends were forwarding me emails with my book being featured. That's not a thing I even knew existed.
I did not know
So,
that that still happened because, like, I first published on Kindle in 2011. It was like
yep.
very shortly after it came out, and there were so many things you could do then because Amazon was still figuring it all out. This was a really new thing. And you could do things like set your book for free for a day, and then the momentum of that would carry over into the paid list. And, you could get a spike of $1,000 in sales the next day. And that is
Well,
no
they
longer
you can do
fun.
it. It's Kindle Unlimited. So if you are uploading your book to KDP on Amazon, you have the option to choose Kindle Unlimited, and it's not always super clear the pros and cons. So the pros are you can drop your price to zero for 5 days, or you can do a Kindle countdown deal. Either one every 90 days and automatically renews. There's no cost to this. If you're doing Kindle countdown, if your book was originally $9.99 for the 5 days of the countdown, it'll say $9.99 discounted to 99, and then it'll have a clock running down.
Mhm.
Now, I don't love it because the book's only lowered in either the US or the UK, not everywhere. And if I'm doing a global campaign, it doesn't help because I still have to manually change the price in all the other markets.
Mhm.
So I'm like, well, I also want to be able to sell my book, my Kindle version, my ebook version, and other platforms. So I just no longer turn it on or tell people to turn it on personally. But I think if people should know what it is and make that choice for their
Right.
own
So,
strategy.
so the con is that it locks you into only selling your ebook. Now, this doesn't apply to paperbacks, but your ebook on Amazon. So if you go
And you
on
can't even
Barnes&
give
and
it away on
Noble,
your own website. Like according to the small print, you can't even give it away.
good
So
old Amazon.
that makes it very difficult for some authors, and it auto renews. And if you say, "Oh, wait, 91st day, I don't want to do it," you actually have to wait till 180 days to be out of the contract. So you can't even like undo it. You have to preemptively remember to turn off the auto renew. So there's a few factors there to know about. I would prefer that you just manually adjust the .com price and it'll change all the other countries automatically based on the monetary units. Um, and and back to your point though about giving away your book, even at 99 cents, we're not making any money. So like we're giving away our book. Yes, the people who are most likely to join our launch team are the people who are most likely to have also purchased the book. Well, that's because they want the book. So two things. One is let's make sure they get the book in their hands and they actually read it. Let's do everything we can to have them use the book so that they then can talk about it and be word of mouth marketing, which is amazing. Let's make them all little mini influencers to be like, oh my god, have you heard about this book? That's awesome. Like you cannot pay for that kind of attention, and you want that to happen. I like to have the paperback come out a month in, like on launch day. So I actually, during the soft launch, prefer to focus all sales on the Kindle book so that if we're gonna hit number one, right, it's a byproduct of a strategic launch. You have a good book, right categories, and you only have sales on Kindle for these 3 weeks. Well, you're gonna, I mean, the likelihood is you're gonna hit number one. Like, that's great. Let the author get that if they can. But then on your public day, you want to have the paperback version available. Now, you could do both at the same time. It just means people might buy one or the other. What I have found is a lot of people will buy both. So my second book, no, my third book was a really thick book. It's a manual about Zoom, right? It's called Break Out of Boredom, Low Tech Solutions for Highly Engaging Zoom Events. So it's like really dense. It's got, tons of graphics and call outs and all. It's a big book. So yes, I gave the discount on the ebook and a bunch of people bought the ebook. And then they were like, oh, I want a manual that I can reference physically and have like within reach of my desk. So then they went and bought the $30 book, right? So I can't lead with a $30 book. I led with a $3 version.
Mm,
And then some of them then bought the other one. And likely also people from my second book bought the 99-cent version. And then some of them went and bought the paperback version for $20. So I think you may actually gain a sale as far as sales ranking, but I'd rather get the information to these people because we make money in bulk sales. We make money from being referred for speaking, coaching, consulting, which is where the bulk sales come, or book clubs or other engagements. We have to get our network working for us. And for us to skip this step and just pay for PR and marketing is so silly because we're going to drop probably 10, 20 grand on decent PR and marketing
yeah.
to drive people to a sales page, the books page on Amazon, that's not going to help make decisions. And I know this because I'm a small M media, right? I'm a podcast host for a decade now, and I get pitched authors,
Mm,
I don't know, 25 times a week. And if they were on my topic, I would glance and I'm like, wait, you wrote a book about networking and there are 7 ratings and 4 reviews. And you hired this major PR company that I know. Oh, and your hybrid publisher, I know them. You dropped well over 20 grand on this book. You wrote a book about networking. But where's the social proof that you have any idea how to do the networking if your own book has no review? Like, what? So I was like, no, I don't think I want to bring you on. Like, it actually detracts from their overall package and their expertise that they are presenting.
yeah. Boy, now I'm feeling embarrassed about my Amazon page.
And this is why reviews, I want to say relaunches are possible because
Absolutely.
so
There's
there are all kinds of reasons. Like, it depends on what your goals were when you launched, right? So some people know they have a bulk sale plan and they're doing things behind the scenes. It's not evident on the Amazon page. And I'm like, well, then let's at least get you 20 reviews, a minimum 20 written reviews. Just again, because the bar is so low, because most people aren't going to get like more than 4, right? So like, let's actually try. And if you aim for 50 or more, that's when you need a bigger process. And that's where my piece is around who you invite. All that matters. But like, at a minimum, go for the 20. And to get 20 reviews, you probably have to ask about 50 people to like be part of the experience. Honestly, you'll probably get a higher percentage the smaller your launch team. So I had a launch team of 62 people for one of my clients. That's what she was able to drum up, right? We only asked like 84. We asked 84 people and 62 said yes. And she got, I think, 48 reviews
Mm,
because they were so handpicked. They were so handpicked. Like, she did the work. She didn't have a broad audience, but she had a deep audience. She had past clients. She had current clients. She had her colleagues that understood the value of her work. And that was her list. And so she got really high percentage compared to other people. But I think if she had been able to do the same thing and talk to 300 people, it may have actually given her more of a pipeline to her business. Because the pipeline is model is what I talk about more than a funnel, because it's really you have a clear next step for people, but they could skip it. The funnel, you have to kind of go through each process. But the pipeline is almost more like inviting them up a mountain. And if they want to hire you directly and go straight to the top and not do the group thing, like, let them. If they want to spend a little extra time down at the bottom of the mountain in the gift shop looking at postcards and dreaming, well, find a way to keep them close, right? They're not ready for you yet. And maybe they need a little more coaxing and maybe they need like a lot of steps in between. but someone else might just jump right to the front and be like, I'm ready to go. And then when they get to the top of the mountain, they're like, whoa, there's a lot of other mountains here. And you're like, yeah, that's why you hire coaches. Like, we now help you figure out the next vision. Like,
Yeah.
let's keep going. So I see the pipeline is like writing a book. You have to know where you're directing people. So the call to action during the launch party, we are talking about that when we're designing the launch part, because if you know you want to be speaking at companies, well, then your launch team should be filled with people who work at companies.
Mm,
Like if that's the goal, then you've got to match the effort to the outcome, or else it's not going to happen. And so again, maybe you will or won't hit the number of reviews. Like the client from yesterday hit 20 reviews, but she still did all the work to wake up and engage her network. So she's going to get more inquiries. She's going to get on more stages. She's going to get more coaching clients, right? So all and more reviews will kind of filter in. It'll all happen for her.
yeah.
But you don't hire a publisher to market your book. I know that we mistake this all the time. And even traditional publishers, I hear authors complain that they're not getting enough marketing. Their name tells you what they're known for and what they're agreeing to do. They're a publisher. They will publish your book. Some will do a little more, some for a little more money will do a little more, some will refer you to a PR company they're friends with, but you're the author, whether you're traditionally published, hybrid published, self-published, whatever version you're doing, you're the author. It's your network, your marketing capability. And it gets lost, like because we're just through the effort. So I think of this process not as a marathon. I've often heard people say like writing a book is like running a marathon, right? It's exhausting. It's this huge process. The difference is the end of a marathon, the runner can stop. They've reached the finish line. They're done. So it's more of a triathlon. The first leg is the swim. That's the getting the book written, right? Now, stop being wet and maybe a little cold, you run to your bike and now you're trying to figure out how to get it published.
Yeah.
So you're on your bike and you're and so you're biking. And the biking part ends and now you finally run a marathon, right? And now that running part is the launch and the marketing that comes after. And only then do you get to stop, right? And even then, like we have to constantly find ways to reinvent the enthusiasm we had for the book we wrote 8 years ago. And that's why I love these Kindle flash sales, because I have authors with books 8 years old that kind of get reignited. It's like their first book. So they're like, I kind of stopped talking about it. It's like, no, it's really relevant still. So whether it's a book that just launched or a book that's been out a long time, we have to find a reason to keep talking about it, but not as intensely as that triathlon. Like this is the moment we have to talk about our book and we have to have a plan. So you don't just train for the swim.
Mhm.
You can't just train for the swim and expect to do well on the bike ride and on the run. We have to have the right coaches and the right preparation and the right equipment for all phases of this. And only then do we have that major outcome that we were hoping for.
That's amazing. That is so true. I have just been accepting this metaphor of the marathon. I do a book marketing bingo game with my friend Kelly, and we have a workshop later today that I need to prepare for about it. And she calls it the book marketing marathon because we do sort of think of that as like, okay, the opposite of a sprint is a marathon. Therefore, that's the metaphor of like you just keep going and keep going, and this is the long haul. But your metaphor is even more apt. I like that a lot.
Ultimately, what we're talking about is before you go and write a book, which is a huge endeavor, time, money, energy, no matter which way you do it, it's a lot. Understand why you're doing it. And it can't be because I'm supposed to have a book as a business card. No, you should have a book as a business asset. Okay. If you cannot make it make sense, the dotted line, at least the dotted line from your book to your business, then you should probably figure out what the business offer is first. Test it, run with it. I've also had authors tell me that I've had people tell me that they're writing a book, but no one knows. They've been working on it for 3 years. I'm like, now what do you mean no one knows? Well, I don't want anyone to steal my idea.
That's another huge
Okay.
one.
The problem here is that you should be known for your idea and proving your idea before you go and write a book on your idea. Like you should have your name associated with this idea everywhere, 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 everywhere. Like you should have podcast interviews and blog posts and lives, and you should establish yourself and then find out whether it works and then write a book to clearly claim it. But yeah, I'm like, how do we write in secret and know whether what we're creating is effective? It's like building an online course for a year and a half alone in our head. And then we bring it to the market, and the market's like, who are you? What is this? I don't need this. And we're like, oh, we're so demoralized. But
And then you have to go back and
you
lay that framework of
yeah, you're selling
this
something that
because
without an audience. Yeah. So my second book is titled Small List, Big Results. Launch a successful offer no matter the size of your email list. And it's really about like how do you test these ideas? How do you build the audience before you sell the offer?
yeah.
So I'm in some ways the book this I'm just following the same process, but now we're doing it with a book because it's a really decent asset that you've created and it should benefit your business. Like it should turn into revenue, not from selling the book per se, although there are ways to do that in bulk orders in particular, but in whatever the offer is and making it make sense.
Is there anything that you think that my audience needs to know that I have not thought to ask you?
Well, I offer a complimentary 30-minute book launch brainstorming session, whether you've started writing the book, you've already published the book, or anywhere in between. And they can go to booklaunchbrainstorm.com to learn about my offers for authors. They'll also learn about the BizBook Pub Hub, which is the community. I run free virtual networking events for speakers and authors every month. I organize the Kindle flash sales 3 times a year. The podcast comes out twice a week, and we have this curated list, this directory of experts who support authors, particularly experts and entrepreneurs, going through from writing to publishing and to marketing and beyond. So you can go to booklaunchbrainstorm.com, find out about all of that. My new book, Launch Your Book, An Entrepreneur's Guide to Reviews that Drive Revenue, is also linked from there. So you can get the new book. You can get all the bonus content from the book. I have an online program people can buy, or they work with me one-on-one. I do virtual book launch parties. We have a DIY sort of you work on it and I support you. And we also have an implementation team that you can hire. We try to meet the author where they are, depending on what their skill set is, the size of their team, what they want to learn or do, and then craft the sort of solution around that. So all of my stuff is somewhat bespoke in the sense that it's a la carte and not you have to buy a whole package. You buy the pieces that you need.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Well, you stole my next question, which was going to be if people want to work with you, what
There
should
you
they
go.
do next? So we'll just we'll put
Well, I would love for people to
it in.
connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm easy to find. Search for Robbie Samuels. You'll see a croissant in the front of my
And now I
name, and then you'll
understand
know you
why.
found the right person. Now you'll know why. People think I'm like French. No, no, it's not that. But I want, I have my little memorable piece there. So definitely find me there. I'm always putting out content. I do live streams for all my podcast episodes with authors. We do author panels. I do expert interviews, author interviews. So I'd love people sort of popping up and seeing those. LinkedIn newsletter, all about this idea of like better than bestseller. So would love people to find me there as well.
Very nice. Awesome. Okay. Well, I can't thank you enough for all of these
Thank
insights.
you.
I feel like my brain is going ping, ping, ping. So lots of great ideas, and I'm going to process that and figure it all out. And I hope that many of these listeners will go and see what insights that you can give them and help that you can give them. This has been wonderful.
Thank you so much for inviting me to be on.